Okay, welcome everyone as we're just getting set up, setting up all the lives. Okay, that's coming through. If you're joining on Facebook and LinkedIn, welcome, beautiful beings. I'm gonna give it a couple seconds here. I need to change my background. All right. All right, let's get into it. Starting recording in 3, 2, and 1. Good morning, evening, afternoon, beautiful beings. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to another cosmic spiritual dance into a powerful topic and discussion today to enliven and enlighten you in all of the powerful, beautiful ways. I am so excited to have this chat with a lovely, dear friend. But as always, before we get into the conversation, if you are listening on the podcast, joining live on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, welcome to the show. A reminder that if you get a bit of value and insight out of this discussion today, please share this far and wide. Stick around to the end because I know there are going to be some pieces in this conversation that are going to light you up in all the ways. And if you have any feedback and questions, comments that come up, one, you can leave them live throughout the show on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, or you can also go over to Spotify and Apple and leave your feedback. That also helps the show as well. I would encourage you as well to join the Facebook community, which I'm also going live into today. And I'm going to be checking the stream as we move throughout this chat. And if you have any questions, leave them there. And I'm going to flitter them in to the conversation. I have the pleasure to be joined today with my divine celestial friend, Roxanne. Roxanne is a celestial guide. She is a generational earth shaman, a Reiki master, host of the Soul to Soul podcast with Roxanne, and she's just a divine and beautiful friend. Today, we're going to be talking about illuminating the soul. Why is this important? What does this mean? How does this help us back to more of ourselves? What does this have to do with the body, spiritual intelligence, and so much more? Roxanne, welcome to the show, my friend.
Harrison, I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, my friend, I think you have to unmute. Is it working?
Am I muted?
Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm like, I'm not muted on my end. I'm so honored to be here and just so excited for this beautiful conversation, my friend. This is going to be beautiful.
Yeah, and we were talking just before we started recording that we were feeling all the feelings already. And, just to be fair for all the beautiful people I have on the show, I feel this way uniquely with a lot of people, but there's something about you, Roxanne, and people will feel it today that, our souls are connected for many reasons. And when we get to join, especially in a container like this, something a bit different comes up. Do you agree?
I agree, my friend.
Put simply. All right.
You know how it is.
I do. So let's go straight into it, Roxanne, because we have a lot to talk about today. And like I just was alluding to, there's a lot coming up that I want to share with everyone tuning in. And I think where I want to start with this topic today, I want to share a quote with you, and then I want to get your feelings and perceptions around it in relation to soul illumination. And this quote is from the lovely Neville Goddard, who I'm just lost in at the moment. He's a mentor that's come into my life that is bringing up a lot of new understandings for me. And the quote is, "The world and all within it are states of consciousness objectified. Your world is defined by your conception of yourself plus your conception of others, which is not their conception of themselves. And while this statement we could break down from many different angles, in relation to you, Roxanne, and what we're discussing today, I think it highlights something very important, and that is the understanding that most of us, if not all of us to a degree, are not showing up as our authentic selves. And there is no judgment there. There is no, you're doing something wrong. I often am falling into this challenge. But what it is highlighting is a necessity for change. So I'm wondering, one, what does this quote bring up in you, my friend? And do you agree with this?
Yes, absolutely. And why I agree with this, and I love this quote because it just speaks so much resonance and just everyday life of how we see others. And being a celestial guide and mentor, I see the potential, I see their sacred purpose, I see the soul design. And then I see someone living their life and struggling, right? In what we call 3D and linear time, struggling with their life, going through all of these challenges, trials, and tribulations, and feel like, they're suffocating, feel disconnected from their emotions, feel disconnected from their soul. And the way that they're perceiving others is that everybody has it together. Everybody has something that they don't have. And, they're trying to have what that other person has. They want that person's internal medicines, gifts, and abilities and their magic, not realizing that their magic is the most powerful thing for them in this planetary system
Yes.
and for this life that they've signed up for. So knowing that and hearing this quote, so powerful,
Yeah.
so true. And I think that the way that we also perceive others is that we are very quick to judge. We are very quick to judge on someone else's journey when we don't actually take that time to go inward and have that self-reflection, that introspection of really looking at self and understanding that we're not judging them for their actions. We're judging them for our actions and for our own inactions. So I think that, yeah, that statement is just powerful.
I knew it would hit your heart, my lovely friend. And it's exactly why I wanted to share it, because, so first of all, everything you just outlined was divine. And when you talk about the judgment, I always get I think I've shared this with you before, but for people tuning in, I always get the image of, the one finger pointing out at the person, and then we see those beautiful three fingers pointing back at us. And we're going to talk about this a lot in many different ways today, but it's an example of the divine mirror. And I know this can be very hard for people to wrap their heads around, but just make it simple. Make it simple and use that image of the hand, right? And everything that we are perceiving, as the quote alluded to, it can feel overwhelming if it's not going in the way that we want. But I want to flip this, and this is what I want to get your perspective on here next, Roxanne. It's empowering, because it means that we are only a choice, if not a series of choices away from shifting our reality in favor of what we deserve. But if we're getting a mirror of negativity, if we're getting a mirror of pain, if we're getting a mirror of judgment, if we're getting a mirror of dis-ease, then the power isn't outside of us, it's in us. What are your thoughts?
Yes. Heck yes. We're live, so I won't swear. Heck yes, because it's so true, because that resonance is within us. Everything we have is the power of choice. We are sovereignty beings. We have the power of free will. And as much as in shamanism, what we believe is that 80% is predestined and 20% is free will. Some people believe that everything is predestined, and some people believe that everything is free will. But when we understand that there are journeys that we signed up for, there are life paths that we signed up for. And when we're living in this constant state of negativity, we're not actually being in our state of creativity. We're not being in our state of flow, of feminine energy, of healing, of moving through the emotions. we're in a place of stagnancy where we're staying within those negative emotions. We're allowing those negative emotions to dictate and to predict what our future is going to be. We're living in a state of the past. We're living in a state of history where that history and that past then becomes our future. So when we shift from that perspective, we change the dynamic of our thinking. And this is why in the coaching element and in the guidance is that we work on mindset. And the reason why the mindset is so important, because that is the mechanism that we have been gifted into these bodily forms. That is the mechanism that is here to keep us safe, yet it has been programmed and wired to also debilitate us if we allow it to. So when we're able to move that mindset, we are able to move into our flow of our state of creativity, of our knowingness. When we come into that knowingness that we're here, not by mistake, we are here by design, we are here to fulfill a sacred purpose. When we know this, we can't live in a state of fear when we're living in a constant state of love and of peace and of knowingness. One can't exist without the other, and one can't coexist together.
Yeah. So this is a beautiful point that I want to sort of break down here. And the first component here, and I'm just going to make sure I'm recording a piece of this. Hang on. So in this chat today, my intention, Roxanne, as I was sort of taking in everything you were just sharing, my intention is to break down different parts of what it means to illuminate our soul. And what you are hitting on here, which is another component that I want to dive deeper into, and it is this idea of mental intelligence or spiritual intelligence. And I think within the spiritual community that I would count myself in, that I know that you count yourself in, there is a very real understanding that a lot of the mind, as you were just describing, is separation, is illusion, is pain, is those programmed beliefs, stories, and again, limitations that keep us small, right? That keep us within certain boxes that we are living from, right? We are in those boxes, such as, let's use an example, such as I am not enough, or I am not divine, or I am not worthy. So we live in that mental perception and story, and then we create our reality from there, right? I would count that as part of the mind. However, when we talk about intelligence, mental intelligence, spiritual intelligence, there is a higher mind that I think most of us are not unlocking. So I'm wondering if you could speak to this, Roxanne. How do we start to jump from this lower mind to higher mind? And where does the sort of soul and spirit come into this?
I love this question, Harrison, because it doesn't happen in a jump. It doesn't happen in a leap. It happens in baby steps. We incrementally get there because the wiring and the programming that has happened since our birth has really allowed us to stay disconnected from this source of intelligence, this infinite source of intelligence, of spiritual intelligence, of oversoul intelligence, of conscious intelligence, of quantum intelligence. It has allowed us to stay disconnected in these realms because we would then realize the power that we have within us. Therefore, we wouldn't be able to be controlled. And I'm not just talking about systematic control. I'm just talking about having somebody say that we need to do something in order to feel fulfilled and happy. And we have to worry about the perceptions and judgments of others in order for us to actually be a good human being or to feel fulfilled within ourselves. So this happens in little processes and little incremental steps that we debunk, we deconstruct what is mine, what isn't mine, coming to those limited beliefs so that we can actually elevate the brain, the frequencies and the vibrations. Because if we have all these blockages happening in our intellectual body, in our mind, and we have all these blocks happening in our energetic imprint that are causing these disruptions, we can't just clear them without acknowledging, without having that awareness, that accountability for why they are there. we have to be able to understand, and we have to be able to use the medicines of it. We have to be able to use the wisdom, the expertise of everything that has been experienced. Why do I believe that? Oh, well, that happened from bullying or happened from a traumatic event. How do I extract the beauty from that so that I can alchemize that, so that I can continue to grow and evolve in my soulful essence? That is how we open up our divine essence and connect to source in that element where we're looking to seek and we're looking to connect with divine intelligence. It's about opening the gateways, and we open all these little doors one at a time so that, we can have this beautiful openings to actually be able to receive the information that is being gifted and given. We're always in connection. We just have so much happening that we're not actually able to transmit it or to actually acknowledge what's happening to us.
So for people watching live, you can see Roxanne closing her eyes. And I want to connect this to what you're saying here. We're always receiving, but most of us are expressing that which we receive through these lower mind components, right? The pain, the trauma, the stories, and the beliefs. And many directions we could take this, Roxanne, but I think one I want to sort of hone in on here, because I'm feeling this as I be here with you, is we're not allowing ourselves to feel when we're in the presence of someone that has made a couple of more steps than what we have, right? So for example, when I hear you speak, Roxanne, I can feel what you're bringing in, right? And the reason I can feel what you're bringing in, right, and just to sort of connect this to everything we're talking about, what Roxanne is bringing in is these divine states of soul frequency, soul intelligence that we all have. The reason that I can feel it is because it is coming from the same source that is inside of me. And I share this, and this is where we can go next here, Roxanne, for all the people tuning in that understand that there are a lot of layers, right? Whether it be inner child's trauma, whether it be ancestral trauma, whether it be, limiting beliefs of, let's just say it, limitation that we grow up with. It can feel overwhelming, right? It can feel like there are so many things to do and we don't know where to start. And my point, and this is what I want to get your view on, Roxanne, is one, we don't need to do all the things. And two, it could be as simple as being in the space of another that maybe has taken a few more steps than you, and allowing ourselves to feel what it feels like to be that open channel. What comes up around this, Roxanne?
I think that we are all that open channel. All of us have the capability to connect with source. And regardless of our choices that we've made throughout our life, regardless of what our path has been, is that we signed up for that in a soul contract to experience that on this planetary system. When we honor that, when we honor into our sacred purpose, it's not about hierarchy. It's not about one having more knowledge than the other or more wisdom than the other. It's to understand that we all have our knowledge, we all have wisdom, we all have magic within us, we all have access to the same source of divine intelligence, of spiritual knowingness, and of unconditional love. It's about allowing ourselves to accept it in this lifetime. And when we look at mentors and we have guides, it's because we know, we feel the resonance and how they speak to us and what they are outputting. We know that this speaks to our soul essence, our logical senses, our intellectual body can't completely fathom why we would believe, into our spirituality until we actually feel that resonance happening within our intuitiveness, within our knowingness, within our soul essence. So when we have these mentors, they're not here to have some hierarchical position over us. They're here to help us grow within our journey because we signed up on a contract, a soul contract, a karmic attachment, a connection attachment, and we're looking for that guidance in order to help us evolve and grow throughout our spiritual journey. So when we can seek a guide that we can learn from. And knowing that any celestial guide, even for myself, I learn from my students, I learn from my mentees, I learn from my clients, and we are evolving together. It's a beautiful journey of growth as one. We are
Mm,
all one. We are all divine creation. We are all interconnected. You become elevated in your consciousness, and the whole planet becomes a little bit more elevated in its consciousness.
mm.
That's how we grow. That's how we evolve. And that's how we create the new earth and being the architects of the new earth.
I'm always, when I speak to you, Roxanne, I'm always very envious of the people that you work with because I can really feel what you bring in. And for people tuning in, I'd encourage you to, as we go deeper into this chat, open your heart to not just what I'm saying, but what Roxanne is saying, because a lot of what she is sharing is beyond what the mind can conceptualize in many ways, but it doesn't need to, right? The mind doesn't need to conceptualize to feel the value of what is being shared. I, Roxanne, I want to take this in another direction here now. And you spoke about bringing in mentors, guides, supporting, having people support you. When we are looking to illuminate our soul, especially if we are awakening at different stages, the question comes up with, okay, I understand what Roxanne's saying and Harris, and I understand that support is needed. I need a mentor. I need someone to reflect from. But then the next question that comes up is, how do we choose? How do we pick? How do we land on the man or woman that is going to be the guide for my next step? How do we tune into that pull?
You don't. It's a knowingness. You know, you hear that person speak, you feel their vibration, you feel their energy, you see the literature, you see their content, and you know it's a knowingness. It's like when you are meant to spend a lifetime in an intimate relationship with a partner on this planetary system, there is a knowingness that happens when that connection happens. And it's the same thing with your mentors. If you have doubt coming from the ego, and but the full body is like, you know what, I just, for some reason, I can't explain it, but I need to connect with this person. I know that this person is intended to help me throughout my journey. Then you need to lean into that. That's called honoring your own truth. So it's not about making connections and having mentors that aren't serving you and that aren't in alignment with you. It's coming down to that knowingness. And it's not to say that that mentor is going to be there for the duration of your journey, but they're going to be there for the moment that you need them. You're going to absorb their own internal medicines, wisdoms, and expertise so that you can grow and evolve.
Mm,
And if that mentor is one that, fits you on this incredible journey for the rest of your lifetime, then that's a decision that you can only make. But if it's someone that is only here to help open you up at first to your gifts, and then you need somebody to really help craft, and really let you step into that magic, then you may need a different mentorship depending on that person's growth and evolution and what they signed up for in that moment.
mm, yeah,
So it all comes to a knowingness. When I found my mentors, people that have to try and convince you to be their mentor aren't your mentor. That's like the
yeah.
boyfriend or the girlfriend that's like, you should pick me because right? Like X, Y, and Z. But like in the feeling of like in your soulfulness and your rootedness, you're like, something doesn't feel quite right here. Like, right? You
That's
have that knowingness.
that's the word, Roxanne, is not just knowing, and I could not agree with you more, but it's the feeling. And I want to just underline that for a moment because much like in all aspects of our 3D world, it can be very easy to make choices from that old programming, right? It can be very easy to make choices from, again, that lower mind that we spoke about earlier that has all of those conditions, right? Has all of those fears, has all of those perceptions that we're projecting onto reality. But I think we must remember that we can always move beyond that lower ego mind into our feeling body to connect to that knowing that you're talking about, right? So let's get practical here, Roxanne, because I want to give as many sort of tips around these kinds of things as possible, right? Because this soul illumination, this is an example of how it starts to move through us, through this feeling, knowing of pointing us in certain directions. So, for example, and I want to hear your examples of this, Roxanne, when I tune into my feeling, knowing that my soul speaks through my body, I often get goosebumps, or my heart expands. I feel it in my chest, or I will, if I close my eyes, right, I'll get a sensation and a feeling, or a vision, or of an image through my clairvoyant sense. So for you, Roxanne, how does your soulful knowing speak through your body?
I love this question. So for me, it comes in a wave of electricity. I feel waves happening throughout my body, and not goosebumps, but like literally, like it almost feels like orgasmic waves throughout my body. It's like this full body knowingness, but I didn't always have this. And before I would try and really decipher from the ego, from the intuition. And it was about going into this place where I would listen to music. And this may not speak resonance to everyone, but it spoke resonance for me. And what I needed in that moment was I would listen to healing music, and I would ask the questions to my soul. If my soul could speak, what would it tell me with this decision that I'm about to make, or this choice, or this life path that I'm about to make? And if I didn't get like a full knowingness without going into my ego, then I knew that either it wasn't for me or that it was for me. Because again, it's just like your intuition already knows. It's only the ego that tries to play, those little tricks on us to try and deter us from that path, because rightfully so, it is there and created to help keep us safe. So it doesn't know what's a danger and what really isn't a danger. So
Mm,
it's doing its job. However, it's doing its job too well, right? So
yeah,
we have to be able to go into that knowingness. If my soul could speak, what would it tell me? If my heart could speak, what would it tell me? What does this feel like for me? What do I see? Like we have these beautiful, clear, like gifts, but not
yeah,
everybody. No, but not everybody is tuned in to their clair gifts, even though we're all capable of them. We're all clairaudient. We all have clairvoyancy. We can all tap into this. This is the power of who we are. So when we understand that, then it just makes it that much easier. But before it got to that point was really, does this feel good to me? And
yeah.
like, where is it coming from? And if I'm resistant to it, why am I resistive to it? Is it because of fear? Is it because that I'm scared of something? Am I scared of an outcome? Am I scared of success? Am I scared to have a healthy love because I don't know what that feels like? Am I
Yeah.
scared to embark on my spiritual journey because I know that I'll grow beyond the extensions and the connections that I have in this now moment? Right. So it comes back to, is it the ego saying no, or is it my body saying no? Is it
So
my being, my soul essence saying no?
I love this, Roxanne. What I'm hearing, and I really want to pull this out, what I'm hearing is a loving inquiry. I'm hearing loving curiosity. And it's an internal loving curiosity. And I want to bring people's attention to I know you're familiar with this, Roxanne, but the Hawkins scale of consciousness, right? And these are the states of emotional frequency that we can rise up to, right? Everyone I think is familiar with, love being at the top, and if guilt, shame, anger sort of being lower on the scale. But we often overlook awe, awe and curiosity. And what you're describing as we start to go into ourselves and ask these questions, these prompts to allow more of ourselves through, is that loving curiosity, right? And that in itself is a vibration of frequency that raises us up. So of course that would allow more of us to step forward, right? Whether that be in the form of our clear senses, whether that be in, guidance that wishes to speak through us. So I think it's a powerful practical tip. Roxanne, I want to shift here now to something we've been talking about just now, but let's go deeper into it. And I want to welcome all the people joining us on Facebook and LinkedIn. I see your beautiful comments. If you have questions today, please pop them in to the chat, and I'll add them into the conversation to pose to Roxanne. So where I want to go here now, Roxanne, is within this discussion today that we've been flying through with love around illuminating our soul, there is a important component that I often see, and I'm sure you see as well, the role of the body, the physical form. And we were speaking about a second ago with our senses, but I want to dive deeper into it through the lens of when we get into all discussions around spiritual awakening, illuminating the soul, there are a group of, let's call them people that see the body as a secondary on the way to our spiritual awakening. See it as something that I'll use it, but only for a period of time until I don't need it anymore. And I'll just throw to you, Roxanne, because I can see you smiling. What comes up around this understanding of the role within this whole conversation today of the physical body?
The physical body is such a beautiful gift that we have been given and what we agreed to be given. And this physical vessel, without us being here in our soulful essence, without this physical being, even if we were into the animal kingdom or anything of that nature, is that we were gifted to hold all of these experiences and to go through all of these challenges so that we can actually realize all the emotions that we have within this beautiful being. Because in our physical capacity, it is the most beautiful thing that we have been gifted for this planet. Because even though our soul essence is like the most, I don't even want to say beautiful. It's just like the most divine thing that we have, because literally is our soul essence. It's everything that we are and the divination that we are, and energy never dies. And this is something that we carry for billions of years, trillions of years. So when we know that we have this beautiful soul essence and we were given this body, this earthly body, to be able to have these incredible experiences with, in order to help evolve our soul's evolution and growth, it's about an honoring of that body, of holding it as your temple and nourishing it and flourishing everything that it is capable of doing. A lot of us take our body for granted. We take our health for granted. We take the fact that we can see the world through our eyeballs, like that we can hear the beautiful world through our
Yeah.
ears, and that we could taste all the experiences through like our mouth and our tongue. We can breathe in smells, like our lungs captivate the air that's around us, like everything, our heart, everything is just such a beautiful thing. Our womb carries life, like, and not just physical life, like for divine males, like it, honestly, it holds sacred life of like visions of dreams. So we've been gifted such a beautiful thing, and somehow we seem to disassociate with it when we go into this spiritual journey, not understanding that alignment is all of our beings being in
Yeah.
alignment and love for every entity of who we are, not just one aspect of ourselves. We're not here to have a soul experience. We're here to have a human experience,
Yeah.
a physical experience. So it's about honoring what we're actually here for.
Mm. A lot's bubbling up around that, Roxanne. Before I want to share a point, I just want to ask for people watching the live, because I'm sure they're curious. You're holding feathers in your hand. What kind of feathers
Always.
are they? What kind of feathers are they?
These are dove feathers.
Beautiful,
That's my
beautiful.
bird. That's my.
I love it. I just saw it. I wanted to ask
It's
about it.
one of my power animals.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
I want to. So let's jump back to what you said around. So not just so everything that you just expressed. I was getting waves of gratitude, right? Right, waves of gratitude of, really honoring and seeing that this is part of the purposeful reason that we are here in this 3D form, is to have this body. But I want to take it further, and I'm going to say, because we're going to speak about this at the end, I have the divine pleasure to join you in the Illumination retreat, and I'm going to get you to speak about it at the end of this chat. And at that retreat, I'm going to be showing up as my divine self, but be channeling my love through the modality that is yoga, that is yin yoga. And one of the reasons I love yin and yoga in general is because what it helps us do is it helps us alchemize a lot of those shadows, those pains, those limiting beliefs, those illusions and aspects of separation that we were speaking about earlier that hold themselves in the lower mind, but can be transmuted through the physical form. So I share this as an example that I want to get your view on, Roxanne. Not only is the body here as something we need to treasure and be grateful for, I would actually assert that it is the tool that we can use to alchemize a lot of the shadows and the aspects of separation that actually are stopping us from illuminating, from that are stopping us from stepping into our soul's mission, stepping into more of the expression of what our soul is meant to be doing here. What comes up around this?
Absolutely. And I love this question, Harrison. And, I really want to give some brilliant thoughts around this because to me, the physical being and the way that it shows symptoms all stems from our energy field. It's all imprints that are happening at the energy field. It's our physical body that is actually carrying the weight and the discomfort and the dis-ease or the illness of the element that we are carrying. So when we understand that, the alchemy of our body is the alchemy of all of our experiences, it's a truly powerful thing. So when we are going through a trial and tribulation and we're not allowing ourselves to flow through it and we're staying stagnant within those emotions, or we're having, misplaced energy in our energy field, it all affects every single layer of our being. Everything is connected as one. We are here as one in this beautiful partnership, yet we have four bodies, right? Of how we explain it. But these four bodies, when they work in synchronistic alignment, that is when we become that we're really calibrating into our optimal state of being. So when we understand that the alchemy of our physical being is just as important as the alchemy of our emotional being, our intellectual being, and our soulful, energetic being, that is when we understand that's what we call the art of self and soul mastery. It's about mastering all of these elements and aligning them so that we can truly be connected and stay connected to our highest presence.
Just that. Just that's it. That's it.
Check.
Done. And
Mic drop.
exactly what it is, Roxanne. Beautifully said. And I just these kinds of conversations, as we step into them, and I say this for all the people listening, to the podcast and watching live. Again, this is not a one and done conversation, right? Everything that you just beautifully highlighted around this role of the physical body, it's not meant to be quick. It's not meant to be simple. If it was, then there wouldn't be the juiciness of the life experience that we, as the individual expressions of God that we're here to experience, right? And I think this is probably another, do you agree with that?
Yeah, there's no growing without growing pains.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no evolution without actually evolving. And an evolution isn't always comfortable. But again, it's how we perceive it and how we receive that information. It's the choices that we make. Are we coming from a place where, we feel like life is hard and life has challenges? Or are we coming from a place that we actually have a power of choice and that we can choose something different for our life? That choice is ours, and how we perceive it and where we want our mindset and our emotional body and our spiritual body and physical body to be in the moment, in the now moment.
Yeah. I'm so happy I started this chat with that Neville Goddard quote, because it goes full circle back to that perception becoming our reality. And and I was just going to say, adding on to what you're adding here, it's okay for it to be an unfolding. Right. I think a part of this,
it's meant to be an unfolding.
Yeah. But I think and I feel this within my own being, and for people tuning in, maybe you can relate to this. when suffering arises in that unfolding, I think a big reason why is because we become attached to a future state, right? So whether that future state is the place in which I'm finally healed across my physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual body, or whether that future state is I can move through this awakening so I can get the relationship that I deserve, or I can get the business I deserve, or I can get the income, whatever it is. I've noticed that a lot of the suffering within this unfoldment of illuminating our soul comes from attaching to a future state that will never come. And if it does come, there is just another one behind it. What are your thoughts on this, Roxanne?
Oh, I think you know. When we're always in that future state, we are not living in the now. We are expecting an outcome. We're doing something out of expectation. We're not doing something out of free will. We're looking to have an immediate return. And again, that's where society has been driven, is that we're looking for instant gratification. And once we achieve that, it's on to the next milestone. And there's never an appreciation for the actual journey that led us there, or to the milestone that we actually have attained and reached. We're always looking for something beyond us. And what we understand in real spirituality is that it's about being content and at peace with everything the way that it is in this now moment. And it's not to say that it's not, a good thing to have dreams and aspirations. Of course it is. But again, that is also limiting you, because if we are truly limitless beings, dream boards, visionary boards, all of these things, which I don't believe in for this very reason, is because it limits us. It limits our abilities. It limits where we're actually able to navigate throughout our journey. So when we're living in the constant state of the future, when I get this, I'm going to be happy. When my business is successful, I'm going to be happy. When I have a healthy love, I'm going to be happy. That means that you're not happy in this now moment, and you're not in a state of reciprocity or receivership, because your vibrational alignment and your frequency is at a very low vibration. And that's a very challenging thing for a lot of people to understand, because they're like, oh no, like I'm a very positive and happy person. Like I'm a high vibe person. But if your belief system is that you're always looking for the next thing, that tells me that you're not in your knowingness. Therefore, your vibration is at a denser frequency. And when you are on this lower frequency, it's like what we've spoken before, Harrison. It's like being, you're on the FM radio station, and the song that you're looking for is on the AM radio frequency, and you just can't align yourself to it. Well, that's exactly what's happening in your journey. You're creating that resistance. It's not about the law of attraction and attracting everything into your life by just a simple thought or a simple vision board or seeing something for what it is. It's about actually doing the steps of raising your vibration, raising your horrende, so that you can actually be in a state of receivership for everything that you're looking in the frequency that you're looking to receive.
For people tuning in, I'm going to put some in the show notes for this episode. I'm going to put the chats I've done on manifesting from this sacred, divine, loving space. And it's everything that Roxanne is highlighting here. And I'm just going to add a little sprinkle on top, because I think Roxanne just highlighted it wonderfully. Another way that we could describe this is we can manifest all we want, but we need to manifest from the state of the wholeness that we are, right? A way of saying this is we need to become that which we seek, right? So if I'm seeking to manifest, so let's keep it within this topic of, enlightening and illuminating my soul. Let's say that I want to bring in a relationship with a partner that is spiritually awakened and their soul is bright. Well, I could go out into the world and do all the seeking till the day runs dry, or I could do the beautiful work on myself, illuminate my own soul, connect back into my own wholeness and my own completeness. And a symptom of that, right? A symptom of that is the attraction of the relationship that I deserve. So it's about, because I know a lot of new listeners are tuning in today, it's about connecting to that unified field of love that is unbounded and complete and worthy already. And then from that state, we spill out into the world, and that spilling of love is what attracts people in. I know you're receiving some downloads, my friend.
We never have to forcefully attract anything into our life. And that is the misconception, is that we have to forcefully be in our masculine energy to receive something. Yet it's all about going into that state of surrender. When we surrender to our process, we surrender to our journey, we do the work in which we anticipate what we are looking for. It's about those small actions, not forceful actions, the small actions of being on your soul and self-mastery journey. I want enlightened love, but do I love myself enlightenedly? Right. And do I allow myself to love others enlightenedly? As much as we can say yes, a lot of us love each other based on physical linear condition. You do this for me, I will love you. You don't do this for me, I won't love you, right? There's conditions set upon of how we love someone. So when we come from a place where we're loving ourselves enlightenedly and we're fulfilling ourselves enlightenedly, we are asking for someone to come into our life and become complementary to our life and not looking to supplement an aspect of ourselves. When we're looking for someone or something to supplement an aspect of ourselves, we're living out of fear, scarcity, and lack, and out of wounding. So when we are looking for that, that's the exact thing that we are receiving. It may feel good in the moment. It may feel good for 6 months, for a year, but that feeling will dissipate because that fulfillment, that emptiness, that wholeness still isn't there, right? There's still that emptiness that is lying there. There's no fulfillment. There's no wholeness. It's an illusion, right? We fill ourselves with these illusionary things that we think, hold this value, that make us valuable beings. Like, if I have great love, then I must be worthy. I must be a good person. I must be deserving of something good in my life. But the actuality of it is that you are a beautiful person. You are a beautiful divine creature, but you need to have that knowingness, not somebody else come or something else outside of you have to tell you that or to reassure you of your worth. Again, that comes from the conditioning, the wounding. Something has happened for you to think that you are not worthy of what you're trying to receive, either it being in relationships, success, wealth, health, anything of that nature.
Yeah. And I would encourage all of the beautiful listeners, a good place to start with that something that happened is your childhood, right? A good place to start with that something, the event, the abuse, the pain. For most of us, this is why inner child work is such a big part of what I do in the world, is a lot of those childhood events, stories, programs, pain, they create us as adults in this world that are seeking that external validation, are seeking that love in a person outside of us to fill that space that ideally, if we can tune into that beautiful inner child, we can start to be the answer, right? And I just want to be clear for everyone that's tuning in, both Roxanne and I are not saying that we don't deserve to have beautiful divine partnership, but that divine partnership is two complete souls holding hands together, walking forward together, right? Not a conversation of codependency where we get into a cycle of jumping to the next relationship to fill a need that we can meet ourselves. Roxanne, I have one more topic I want to hit on here before I want to hear you speak about this beautiful event that we're hosting together. And we've moved in and out of it in different ways in regards to this illumination of our soul today, but I want to hear you speak about it, and we'll go back and forth on it. It is quite creating space for silence in our lives, right? And the best practical way of this is meditation, right? I know we're both big fans of this as both personal practice and ways that we help people that we serve. But I'm wondering if you could speak to, in terms of illuminating our soul, why is, in my opinion, why is it a must to create quiet time of reflection in the form of meditation to start this illumination process?
To listen,
Mm.
right? A lot of times we're hearing, but we're not listening. It's in those moments, in the stillness, in the tranquility, and it doesn't mean that it has to be radio silence. A lot of the times meditation doesn't work for people because their mind is so busy, but if we can transmute it into the form, or that we can gear it in the form of listening to music or transmuting our thoughts and energy so that we can actually receive those transmissions. Sometimes it's by dance, sometimes it's by singing, sometimes it's just about releasing what is no longer serving us so that we're able to receive the downloads happening for us. And it doesn't always happen just in quietness. It happens in stillness, stillness of our being, when we can bring ourselves to that state of receiving the information and processing what is being gifted to us. That is the power of the meditative process. And it doesn't have to, just be in meditation, silent, no music, no nothing. Sometimes we have to be able to transmute what's happening in our energy field in order to be able to receive the downloads and the information of the connectiveness. Those movements are also, or singing, the vibration is also a state of love and being. Just as we can get there in the frequency of our mind, we can get there in the frequency of our actions also. So
Mm.
it's just being able to receive the information by listening, right?
Mm.
Listening in however form that may be for you. Some people, what resonates with you. If it makes you feel free in that moment, you feel liberated, you can, leave your stresses at the table, you can leave your thoughts on the table, and you can just go into your state of being, your state of flow. You're also able to receive those transmissions that happen within those moments.
Yeah. The listening piece here is important. But I feel, as people are tuning in, that people understand that, yet you alluded to this, and I want to dig into this a bit deeper, because I really want to make this super practical for people that are new to all of this.
Mm.
I would actually say that people are listening when they go into meditation, but the challenge that they have is there are so many thoughts, right? They can't, I'm sure you've experienced this. They can't, I'm going to use their words, shut off the thinking mind to be in their perception of what they think meditation is, to be quiet, right? To be still. And I want to share my view on this and get your understanding, Roxanne. It's in this moment that I think we need to, one, release judgment on ourselves, but two, understand, and I just had a beautiful soul talk about this yesterday with me, that those thoughts too are divine, right? And what I mean by that is, it's so easy for us to judge the judgment. It's so easy for us to add extra negativity to the negative thought that is moving through us. But it is in that moment of meditation that we are listening, that we can actually hold those thoughts as divine, no matter what their current frequency is. No matter if, let's just be very specific here, right? Let's just say I go into meditation and the immediate thought that comes up is, I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve to speak, whatever the negative piece is. Well, it's in that moment that is the theme of our meditation for the day. Let's make the theme of the meditation doing the best we can to hold space for that negative thought, to not add extra layers of illusion, and make that our theme. What comes up, Roxanne, for you around this?
There's no right or wrong, right? It just is. And that's what we understand in shamanism, is that there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad. So when we're going into meditation, and this is what I tell all my clients, because you tell someone not to think about something and you're creating the very resistance that you're telling them not to think about. And what does the mind do? It's a monkey mind. It's thinking about it even more. It's like, oh, now what do I need to protect myself from? You're telling me not to worry, but really, what is there to worry about? And like, right? It's like the circus that's happening in the brain. So it's really about going into that state of surrendering, of letting the thought flow through, allow your thoughts to happen, right? It's a practice. It's not something that is mastered in a day, a week, a month, a year, 2 years. It takes time to master that, if you even want to master that. So for me, when I go into my connective state and where I receive all my guidance, it's not just by being in that quietness and the meditative state, but it's about going into my own journeys, traveling the realms, traveling the galaxies, the worlds, the metaverses, the omniverse. That's where I seek my guidance. That's where I get my downloads, but that may be different for someone else. So there is no right or wrong in how we do it. But this is what I tell my clients. If you're trying to meditate, let it flow. And
Yeah.
before I put them into that theta state of healing, before they go into the meditative process where I'm bringing them through that healing aspect of their journey, it's about just let it flow through you. Allow everything around you, allow the air, allow the earth, allow the water, allow the fire of the ceremony, of the smudging ceremony, allow that to transmute your worries and turn it into something beautiful. Just let it flow, right? Let it flow. You don't have to hold it. You don't have to like continuously think about it, but you don't have to stop thinking about it, because that is the adverse effect of what they're trying to do. That's not how we surrender, right? That's not enough to make us feel safe in order for us to allow that thought to actually flow through us. Meditation in that quietness is really about that laser focus, and that is only attained after years of practice. That's why the monks are out in the mountains with no distractions, because that is how they came to this place. And it's not to say that we need to do that in order to have, beautiful meditation, but it just goes to show that even then they still have to be out in nature in order to allow whatever is happening in the mind to transmute itself. Okay. So it's the same thing within our being, within our constructs of where we live, is that we just need to be able to understand that everything around us is here to transmute that energy. And that energy is your thought form. That thought form carries energy. That's why it can be transmuted, just like your emotions carry energy. Everything around us carries energy. So it's about allowing that to be transmuted so that we can go into that place of quietness should we choose to.
The key word, not just transmute, but as you described, surrendering through. And I want to share another quote with you that I'm sure you've heard, for all the people tuning in, from the lovely Rumi. Beyond all thoughts of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field, and I'll meet you there. And it highlights exactly what you're saying here, right? It doesn't matter what the polarity is of that energy that is currently moving through us. What is behind it is the space we need to get to. So whatever it is, right? And I'll add in another lens here. It's the Zen lens of as it be, or let it be, or so it be, right? It's just, and that is not taking agency away. If anything, it's giving you more agency, because you're starting to realize you aren't that thought, you aren't that emotion, you are that beautiful container of love, or the cosmic love antenna that holds all of it, right? Roxanne, as always, it's been a divine and powerful conversation, and I hope that everyone tuning in live today has been able to pick up on your divine frequency. Before we finish, I want to give you a bit of time here now. This whole theme of what we've been talking about today, this illumination of the soul, was inspired by a beautiful retreat and experience that you are putting on at the end of the year in Italy, that I get the divine pleasure to be a part of, to add my magic and my love into. And I want to give you a bit of time to speak about it today, and I'll prompt you here. I want to hear not just about what it is, but why is it needed? Why do we need this kind of experience in our lives?
Well, I'm going to preface it by this. So I am very connected to my angelic lineage. And this was a message that was received from Archangel Michael, that this is the retreat that I needed to create. And I started to co-create it with a beautiful soul. However, I was told that it needed to be just myself. So I was like, okay, I am going to really take this next step forward and trust where my sacred purpose is leading me. And what I've been gifted and told in sacred circle with my elders and tribal communities And from my own, just my own connection, my own channeling information is that I am here to be an architect of the new earth. I'm here to help design new planetary systems and to create beautiful life and to just help with the shift and act like a pillar of light throughout the great awakening of what we're calling it. And illuminating our soul's luxuriance, the illumination retreat is an experience like no other. We are using the internal medicines, the wisdoms, the experiences, and the expertise of our global leaders that have been hand selected and hand chosen to lead this retreat with myself, because to me, in guidance, this is what I was told to do. And illuminating our soul's luxuriance throughout this retreat is vital at this point, because we are shifting. It's like a slow wave that's happening throughout the Great Awakening and creating the new earth. I know a lot of people have heard about it, but it's not exactly what everyone is anticipating it's going to be. And the point of this is that we are going in and we are stepping into our magic, our skills, and our abilities. We're realizing the divine essence in which we are, that we're not just here to have superficial experiences, that there is an actual sacred purpose to all of our soul design. And how do we live in it? How do we become really realize ourselves to be in a state of receivership, of reciprocity of everything that we are trying to do in impacting humanity? This is for people that are looking to make massive impacts in the world so that we can have a greater impact as we are shifting through this great awakening. So when we are all coming to this state of consciousness, and it's not to say that everyone in this planetary system will, because that's impossible. There always has to be that duality, that polarity. And it would be too momentous if that was to happen. But it's about affecting these impact makers to understand that you're pushing in your masculine energy, you're driving something so forcefully that you're not actually in a state of being able to receive it. And we've received information, about the secret, but this is something that is beyond the secret. This is not the law of attraction. This is something bigger in how we're actually able to live our life in a full body knowingness and having everything come into our alignment, into our vibrational alignment once we realize this. So it's about a massive reset to the entirety of our being, from our soul essence, from our emotional being, from our physical being, and obviously from our intellectual body. And it's just like this full hard reset of coming back to love, coming back to our soul's essence and our sacred purpose so that we can fulfill it.
Just that. Just it. That's it. That's all it is. I say, Roxanne, a beautiful outline, and so much bubbles up when I hear you speak all of that. But I'll just, in the sake of time, I'll just say a few things here. Firstly, for all the people that are listening to this podcast, that have tuned into my shows, that have tuned into my frequency, everything that Roxanne just illuminated is not going to be new to you, right? You're already on this journey, and you'll know if this kind of experience is for you, right? I don't need to, as Roxanne said, this is not about the masculine push. This is about the divine feminine knowing. And these kinds of experiences, this Roxanne's experience that she's putting on, is going to be one of many, not just of what she's going to be putting on, but one of many, I think, that we're going to start seeing the collective that we are starting to step into, right? Everything that Roxanne just highlighted, it's not just a superficial experience in a random country. And I'm not taking anything away from those kinds of beautiful adventures, but this illumination of the soul is what most souls are on this planet looking for. And in this awakening, and it's so interesting, I'll end with this, Roxanne. It's so interesting. I spend a big part of my days as I step out into the world, and I look at individuals, and that's the question that I ask myself. I wonder what is the fullest expression of that soul's illumination, right? If that soul right now that is working at that desk or driving that bus or whatever, whoever the soul is, I wonder what their fullest expression is. And that might be that same situation that they're in. But I think this is a question that we all need to ask ourselves, right? Is the current situation that I'm in, is this the fullest illuminated state in which my soul can be embodied in? And if it's not, and we'll end with this, if it's not, then you deserve to make a choice to shift, right? And you're not judged either way. But let me be very clear. There's a lot more waiting for you to step into. So, Roxanne, I love you very much. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for sharing your divine frequency with me. Are there any final words that you want to leave people with before we wrap up?
I just want to thank you so much, Harrison. You know that you're a very dear friend of mine and you hold a very sacred place in my heart for me throughout this journey. And I know that we've been connected in countless lifetimes before. And for our listeners, just follow your knowingness. You already know your soul's already calling wherever that path may lead you. You know that you're being called. And it doesn't mean that it's at our retreat, doesn't mean that it's hiring a mentor, but you know that your soul is calling for something different. And it's about honoring your truth.
Mm. Beautifully said, my friend. Lovely souls out there listening in the podcast world, thank you for your attention, your time today. If you joined us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, thank you for your energy. I'm going to go back and look at all the lovely comments and questions that came up. But until next time here on the show, both Roxanne and or I will just say, just for people interested before we finish, if for people interested in the retreat, I'll put some details in the show notes of this description. And you can also reach out to Roxanne and we can have a chat about what that looks like if you want to come. So until next time here on the show, we send you love, we send you light, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye, everyone.